Well, you certainly know how to compliment a woman. Well, if you'll excuse me.
Do you know who I am?
No, I can't say that I do.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
Really?
People know me.
Well, I'm very happy for you.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Kizzy's Friday Game Changers, taking your business to the next level.
Coming up on Kizzy's Friday Game Changers.
Every condition of the body, physical or psychological, there's a unique energy pattern it creates. So by reversing that energy patterning, you can cure seemingly what's the incurable, which is quite amazing.
And also,
but if you stop, ponder and sit and wonder and why, you know, like you said, the time ticks, years go by with many people, and they have the wishes, oh, I wish I'd have done this and wish I'd have done that. The thing is to move your body, get your mind working for you, positive all the time, and don't stop.
All of this plus a great elevator pitch from Divide By and music from Jen Jevons, the founder of Brisbane-based digital agency Pixel Palace, and David Hernandez, co-founder and managing partner at Lotus 823. Call your friends and spread the word. Tell them that Kizzy's Friday Game Changer show is the very best you've ever heard.
You're listening to Kizzy's Friday Game Changers, the world's #1 business podcast experience. Listen, learn and innovate.
Hi, this is Ray Zen.
Hi, I'm Jamie Martin from Ideal Shopping Direct.
I'm Kate Bell, founder of Zip Us In.
Hi, my name is Eirik Eide Patterson. I'm a co-founder of Seaborg Technologies.
Hi, I'm Katie Farrell, transformation coach, founder of The Catalyst for Life.
Hey everybody, I'm David Frangioni, CEO and co-founder of All Access IDA Inspire and Develop Artists, and you're listening to Kizzy's Friday Game Changer. Check it out.
Hello entrepreneurs, my name is Hernani Alves. I'm the CEO of Balanced IQ Leadership. Congratulations on your journey. It's probably a dream that you've been wanting to pursue for such a long time. And I can tell you right now, it's not going to be easy. And if you talk to these successful entrepreneurs, they're going to tell you the journey is not easy, but it is a fun journey as you're going through. So wanted to give you some advice on things that you should really do along this journey. And it's balanced accountability. So it starts with, there's 3 P's. So just remember the 3 P's. The first one is personal accountability. Looking at yourself first. The most important person in your business is you. You've got to take care of yourself. Make sure you're out there and learning new information, but also make sure that you're open to feedback from your team and go into these meetings listening. Your idea isn't always going to be the best one in that room. That's okay. Make sure you're able to listen and gather all those ideas so then your team can go out there and execute and they have that ownership. That's the first P. The second P is positive accountability. Catching people doing things right. Don't be that gotcha manager or that seagull manager where they just kind of come in, they poop on whatever's going on and they take off. That's a gotcha manager. What you want to do is go in and catch people doing things right and magnify that. Because once you magnify that positivity, that's what starts to take your company from good to great. And more people will want to get that recognition. And then the last and final P, performance accountability. This is the big one. This is where most leaders directly want to go to first. But first, before you do that, you got to do your personal accountability and your positive accountability. Performance-based accountability, what that is, it's having a metric, something that you can measure. So anything that you're going to roll out in your company initiatives, can you truly measure it? Do you know if you're succeeding or not? And make it a public scoreboard. Make it a public scoreboard for yourself, for your employees, so they can see exactly where they're at all times. You can praise the ones that are doing well, And then the bottom performers, you're going to go in there and coach them and improve them to get to that next level, and they will appreciate that feedback. Well, congratulations, entrepreneur. Enjoy this ride. It will be quick and fast and very rewarding.
Welcome to Kizzy's Friday Game Changers
with your host Kizzy and Quacha,
a show for innovators and motivators, people just like you.
Kizzy is the publisher of Business Game Changer magazine and the property investor, editor of the successful Women in Business book series
and the best-selling Every Entrepreneur's Guide series.
Every week, Kizzy and his guests provide you with the tools you need to take your game-changing business to the next level.
Listen, learn, and innovate.
Now meet your host, your mentor, and your fellow game changer, Kizzy and Quacha.
Hello and welcome to Kizzy's Friday Game Changers. This week I'm joined by Les Flitcroft, an incredibly gifted trainer, presenter and practitioner of Pranic Healing. Now, last year, Les was nominated as one of the world's top 10 energy healers by the Energy Healing magazine, and he's dedicated his life to teaching and spreading the message behind his work to as many people as possible. As well as being a busy lecturer and full-time pranic healing instructor, Les has a thriving healing practice, and he's been responsible for healing thousands of people with a multitude of ailments. Now, in just a few minutes, I'll be talking to Les Flitcroft to find out how you can benefit from energy healing in your life. Take the cat out, lock yourself in and sit back, because it's Friday. I'm Kizzy, and this is Kizzy's Friday Game Changers. Listen, learn, and innovate.
Hi, I'm Dr. Joan DiMartini, and you are listening to Kizzy's Friday's Game Changer.
Hello and welcome to the show. This week's guest, Les Flitcroft, holds a unique position when it comes to empowering people to create better, happier, and more successful lives. He's the director of the Institute of Pranic Healing for the UK, Ireland, Gibraltar, and Costa del Sol, and travels, talks, and teaches across the UK, Ireland, and Europe. Les, it's amazing to have you join me.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for welcoming me on your show.
I'm absolutely fascinated by your story, your story of personal transformation. Les, you started off as an aerospace engineer, and I know that at that time you were quite, let's say, skeptical when it came to things like energy healing. And then you had an accident which left you with 2 broken arms. Tell us the story.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, yes. My background's engineering, and I was brought up in an environment where, you know, just normal life, and I educated in aircraft engineering, which I'd done for over 20 years. And then I was involved with a serious accident, which, as I say, I broke both of my arms, but my left arm was rendered paralyzed. Unfortunately, they operated on 5 times to save my arm, which was great. They saved it. But the specialist said, unfortunately, the nerves were so badly damaged that I would never get my arm back. So then I was actually still working on the aircraft. And so a friend of mine was doing healing. She'd done various types of healing modalities around. And I never, ever believed in any of it. I just thought it was hocus pocus, never believed. And then obviously having this accident and having this problem, she had said that I discovered this amazing new innovative techniques, and I should go over there. And the great grand master of all this it was actually in the US at the time, was coming over, and you should meet him. So I'm thinking, okay, fine, I'm going to go and see this Chinese man for maybe a healing or something, and I needed a holiday. This is honestly how I looked at it. I thought, well, I need a holiday. I need to get away. So I packed my bags, booked a couple of weeks holiday, went over to America. And the funny thing was that she had actually booked me on 2 of the classes, which obviously I wasn't too happy about, because obviously I had to pay for these additional things that I didn't or wasn't aware of. But the great thing was that I met the man then known as Master Choco Tsui. Anyway, I took the classes, and it was very logical anyway, because he was a scientist and a chemical engineer. Took the class, understood the principles, felt a lot of things, validated a lot of things as I'd done. But then and he said, well, use this specific technique, which I also liked. If you use it, you would get your arm back within 6 months. Well, for me, I had nothing to lose, a lot to gain. That was the thing. So I started applying it, which you learn to apply these things on yourself, which I did. And every day I used it. And literally within 6 months, I got my arm back. I got all feeling back, movement in my arm, fingertips, everything came back, which was incredibly miraculous. But even at that stage, being a skeptical person, I still didn't believe that I could do such a thing. So there was still a bit of doubt, should we say, in what I'd done. Then from that, my dad had a serious heart attack, and he couldn't walk, a few feet. He was in a very, very bad way. So I asked him that, I apply these techniques, and they're very case specific. So like a heart attack, heart disease, there's literally a technique that you apply with that. So that's what I did. I applied it, although he was looking at me and thought it very, very odd. But within 2 weeks of me doing this, he changed a lot. He could breathe properly, he could walk, he could do things, wasn't getting out of breath. And so it improved and improved. And cut us, quite a relatively short story. Within 12 months, he had another heart check, and they found medically there was absolutely nothing wrong with his heart. And a year before, he had a serious heart attack. They said that his heart was so badly damaged that he may not live or survive over 12 months. So the more things I did and worked on with friends, family, colleagues at work that were highly skeptical as engineers, all of these techniques just kept working and working and working. So bit by bit, my skepticism, if you like, my own skepticism, just faded into oblivion. And that's when I knew that I had something incredibly special that I could apply on people. And, 80-90% of the time it was working. So it was an incredible journey up to that point. And it just got bigger and bigger as we went.
I'm just wondering whether it would have been possible for you to have gone back to your career and working as an aerospace engineer if you know that this practice actually works and it can transform people's lives. Would it have been possible to have gone back to your old way of living?
Not once I got to a point. I mean, I literally carried on being an engineer for quite some time. And one of the funny things around it was, although it was building and getting more and more successful, and I was teaching from 10 people to 20 to 30 to 100 to 500 to 1,000. It was getting more and more, and so it was growing and growing because there's many levels of this. My wife wouldn't let me finish or change my job because obviously we had a mortgage to pay, children to feed, all of these things kept going. So I worked alongside with growing this practice for quite some time. So I've been doing it over 20 years, but I only finished my career in engineering just over 6 years ago. In the end, it just got so big that I just couldn't keep that side of my career going. But it changed my life so much within that first 12 months, not only because I was helping others, but also you can turn this all on yourself. So not only I was helping myself physically, I started to help myself more emotionally, psychologically, started to understand my mind. My awareness started to change on how I was thinking, how I was feeling in life. And then there's techniques that apply, which is the psychotherapy side of this healing technique, where you start to help to remove emotions from your system. If you think your mind creates a thought and a feeling, thousands of them a day, and they just accumulate. That's what we class as a worry or a doubt or anxieties. So you can actually remove these anxieties out of the body. And my being skeptical, but also analytical, I found in the end was fear-based. That's why most people that are very analytical or skeptical, it's the unknown, isn't it? So straight away with people in the unknown, they dismiss it very easily or think it's quackery or work, things that aren't real. But the great thing about pranic healing, you validate every step you make, and also you can apply it to yourself. So it's case specific. So like I said to you, with my dad with a heart disease, there's literally in the techniques in the books that you learn from, if a person has from a cold, there's a technique for it. And if there's a heart disease, there's a technique for it. If someone has anxiety or depression or an addiction, there's a technique that you use for that particular condition. And so the more I learned this, the more one of the things that he done as Master Cho was that he discovered that every condition of the body, physical or psychological, there's a unique energy pattern it creates. So by reversing that energy pattern, then you can cure seemingly what's the incurable, which is quite amazing. You know, and as I say, you can turn this on yourself. So you can self-help. And that's what I did with myself. It changed my life considerably, very quickly.
So how does pranic healing differ from other forms of energy healing, such as quantum healing, Reiki healing, and is it Qigong? Am I pronouncing that correctly? Qigong? Or is it Qigong?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, Qigong. But what it does, this is the thing, when people learn it, they don't realize how scientific it is. So, for instance, most complementary therapies or alternative therapies are a healing art. That means that a lot of the time you apply a healing to someone. So it's like one healing suits all. In other words, whatever the person's got, you're like energizing or putting the energy in to help that person with that condition. Now, pranic healing is a science. In other words, everything is a step-by-step procedure that you follow, and there's a technique that you will follow in the case of, as I say, cold to heart disease to stroke or even cancers. And then also then psychologically, there's set procedures and techniques that you follow. So it's a very, very vast technology, if you like, that lies behind quite a thing that's quite easy to learn for everyone. And that was what he wanted to do. He wanted to make it easy for people to learn, but then you applied a very unique, specific technique, if you like, to that condition. Whereas other techniques and other modalities don't apply it to that degree. That's the thing. That's the big difference between them. That's why a lot of doctors and nurses and medical profession nowadays has learned it. I taught over 30 doctors last year. So a lot of doctors are looking at this because it's not just one thing that you do or apply. It's very case specific, which takes it into a new technology, if you like. That's the difference between them.
I remember maybe 5 or 6 years ago reading a book called, I think it was called The Alternative Sciences or something. I know because you had a chapter in it, and I read your chapter on pranic healing. And just to say, as a background, I knew nothing at all of pranic healing. I'd never even heard of it. But I read your chapter in this book, and I remember thinking, this sounds like real science. It's not about hugging trees and eating brown rice and hoping for the best. It's actually a scientific method. And the question I had then is a question I'd like to put to you now is, if pranic healing is such a methodology and it's actually a method-based systematic science, why isn't it embraced by the medical fraternity? Why isn't it the first port of call whenever somebody has a serious illness?
Well, in many countries now, the medical profession are actually utilizing it alongside Western medicine. And that's the thing with this. It isn't alternative, it's complementary. You know, Western medicine has its field, pranic healing has its field, but many doctors that are now applying it are seeing the bridges and the gaps being filled, if you like. At the moment, which is a very good thing, you know, we've done, because we have a charity side of this, and we've had volunteers go into hospitals, and we've been treating medical staff for stress and anxieties and different things for quite a long time now. And this is one of the reasons why some of the doctors have actually, you know, started to look at it and employ it. But again, you know, because Western medicine in this country is the way it is, to bridge this. They're looking for validation all the time, a science, a validation, but to actually do the research for someone with heart disease, it takes a very long period of time. That's one ailment. Then you could look at it for a stroke victim, but then again, you'd have to apply an extensive research program to be able to then validate it to apply it. So we can go on and on. There's thousands of conditions, physically and emotionally. So this is one of the problems that is facing at the moment. And at the moment, we've had quite a few, from cancer to back problems, to gastro problems. There's already been papers written that science now have looked at it and said, yes, this does actually apply. It does work. So to bring pranic healing is alongside Western medicine is quite a complex thing. Will take a number of years because of the amount of research and the amount of things that pranic healing can do. That's the difference, because there's so many ailments. And also, if you look at psychology and you look at Western medicine, there is still a big gap between the two. Western medicine, if you like, are looking at damaged tissue or damaged nerves or cells. If they see that, then they apply medicine or treatment for that. Then you have psychology on the other side, is looking at the aspects of the mind, where stress, depression, so on, but they don't join the links between them. But a lot of emotional content creates eventually a physical condition. So pranic healing is bridging those gaps as well, which at the moment you don't have that in medical and you don't have that in psychology, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I know that you've also taught pranic healing to alternative healthcare practitioners. What do you help them do?
Well, with, say, massage therapists, for instance, what we do with or Reiki, massage therapists, reflexologists, acupuncturists, what we've done, we've bridged gaps for them because where they apply, say, like Reiki, for instance, then the person normally or traditionally, it's a hands-on process. Now, it's over 250 years old or 200 years old. So applying a modern technique applies within Reiki, if you like. So it's like a bolt-on. So someone that does acupuncture, if they learn pranic healing, they can apply the pranic healing with the acupuncture. Same goes for massage. So pranic healing isn't something to take you away from your speciality or what you do. It adds on to what you do. So we found that people do massage, for instance, if they do the energy work, first of all, with pranic healing, and then they do a physical massage for the person, the results have been outstanding. So, thousands of people that do massage have been taking pranic healing on board. Acupuncturists, the same. We've got many, many students that have come across, learnt the techniques, at least up to level 3, which is the psychotherapy. And once you learn the psychotherapy, then the person has no limits to help other people. And that's what a lot of people now are finding. It's quite incredible how it's helping in all numbers of ways, physically and psychologically.
Sounds incredible. It must be quite gratifying for you to see the effects of pranic healing on ordinary people, because somebody comes to you with something that's clearly a big problem for them, and within a matter of weeks, maybe months, you can see just how much their lives have changed. Oh,
it's incredible, yes. And one of the great things that I really, I still run my own clinic, although I do this, with teaching so much, because I do really enjoy helping people that are in a really bad way, or they've suffered for so long. And of course, as I say, you start applying these techniques, and the changes sometimes, even in one treatment, is dramatic. It's incredible. And, when I teach people how to do this technique, and we have like a membership program where we help people and we nurture them and help them so that, that you don't learn it and off you go on your own. We help people to keep going. And then, of course, you get all of this feedback coming back that, my parents had this, or my children had this. And I can't believe it. I'd done this technique, I'd done it for a week or 2 weeks, and it worked, and it blows people's minds because it is real. It isn't fake. It isn't the placebo effect that I've been said so many times. It works. It's real. And even the placebo effect, if you think, how does your mind fix itself or the body fix itself? The reason why the medical will say it's a placebo effect, because they don't have the answer of why a person is cured from something if they don't give them medication or a certain treatment for that condition, but they still become cured. So they call it a placebo effect. But there is a curing system that goes on within the body. And, once you learn all this, it's hidden laws of nature. That's all it is, that we still haven't discovered through medical science, but it exists for obvious reasons.
I guess the lesson there is that there's so much to the human mind and its connection with the body that we've still got to uncover. But let's hold that thought. We're just going to take a quick break and come back to our conversation in a few minutes. This week's incredibly talented entrepreneur, this week's boss star is David Hernandez, co-founder and managing director of Lotus 823. Now, I'll let David introduce himself and his 2 tracks, Living in the Wildlife and Legitimate Concerns. Over to you, David.
Hello, my name is David Hernandez, and I'm the managing partner and co-founder of Lotus 823, an integrated digital marketing and communications firm based in New Jersey. We've been in business for over 10 years, and we work primarily with consumer electronic, home housewares, smart home, and lifestyle brands. Over those 10 years, we've been lucky to work with some amazing companies and also have an incredible team. We've won over 40 awards, and we're still going strong today. But in addition to that, I've been a musician since I was a teenager. And in the 80s, I had the opportunity to work with a producer in London, which led to other projects and working with other musicians, some of them that were childhood heroes of mine. Members of the Elton John Band, or working with members of Squeeze or Mike and the Mechanics, really was a childhood dream for me. That eventually led to me working with the Village People and co-writing and co-producing a single for them that was released on CBS Australia, and eventually touring with them. Today, we'll play that track. It's called Living in the Wildlife. It came out in 1988. And we'll also play something more recent that I've been working on, which is essentially soundtracks for non-existent TV shows and movies. And this is called Legitimate Concerns.
Call your friends and spread the word. Tell them that Kizzy's Friday Game Changers show is the best you've ever heard.
Kizzy's Friday Game Changers Elevator Pitch of the Week.
Please stand back from the closing doors. Please select a level. Going up.
My name's James Bradley, Director of Business Development at Divide By. Let's face it, most people love shopping online. There are loads of things to look at, from furniture to garden to hobbies and baby goods. There's a multitude of online retailers who will sell anything you want or need. However, it's not enough to offer your customers one payment option. Your customers want to spread the cost, especially on bigger ticket items. What's the answer? We think it's Divide By. We are an amazing small company backed by some big investors. You can add Divide By to your e-commerce site in under an hour and increase your sales by 20%. Need to reduce your basket abandonment or increase your average order value? Sorted. Our software helps retailers provide payment solutions where their customers can spread the cost of goods and services. Retailers that have switched to our checkout from a competitor have reported on average a 25% increase in their sales. If you're interested in learning more, please visit Divide By, www.divideby.co.uk. We can give you a live demo and go from there.
Top floor. Good luck.
Welcome back. Before the break, you're listening to David Hernandez, co-founder and managing partner of Lotus 823, and I'm in the studio talking to game changer Les Flitcroft. Now, Les, we're at my favorite part of the show. This is a section we call Past, Present and Future. Now, what this means is that I'm going to ask you 3 hopefully insightful questions about your business past, your business present and your future. And if we get this right, if we get these questions and answers right, the answers will give us a unique insight into the mind of game changer Les Flitcroft. Are you game?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, very much.
Excellent. Okay, well, look, Les, you've just got to close your eyes and imagine you can hear a clock ticking in the background. That's the sound of time passing by second after second. Imagine yourself traveling back in time to meet the young Les Flitcroft just starting out on his entrepreneurial journey. What one thing would you tell Les to make sure he does, and what one thing would you advise him never to do?
One of the things I think that going back was about fear and procrastination, one of the same thing. I wasted a lot of time waiting to do the right thing, or waiting, if you like, to get recognition or understanding of others, rather than just getting on with things and making things happen and move. That was one of the things. And when I look back, it was procrastination through fear of others' opinions or thoughts, which, we waste a lot of time doing that. That's one thing to really eradicate and wipe out of your system, is fear of others and fear of doing the right or wrong things. Because that's the only way to learn. If you make mistakes, learn from mistakes, move on all the time. Don't sit, ponder and wonder or fear that outcome.
I guess that the one thing that a lot of entrepreneurial business leaders have in common is that fear of failure. It's that fear of doing something and for it not to work. How do you think we should handle that? How should we handle those moments when we've done something and it hasn't worked?
Just learn. I mean, one of the things that I learned, and he still do, none of us are perfect. We only learn through trying, experimenting, moving forward. This doesn't work. Always find another way. Don't ever stop. One of the things that my teacher taught me with because it's not only pranic healing you learn how to work with your mind. You learn techniques to eradicate, disintegrate and remove fears, anxieties, all these sorts of things. So pranic healing is only one arm of all the extensive teachings within the Institute of Inner Studies. So one of the things that I learned was you have to remove fears and blockages, that your mind is the only thing that's creating it. Many people blame situations or circumstances or even other people, but really the only blockages is your mind. Your mind is the key factor to become aware of what's going on, like I did. I've become aware that my analytical views and my fear of change was something that I had to remove. Then by creating the positives within me and keep going, learning and adjusting, that is the only way forward. But if you stop, ponder and sit and wonder and why, you know, like you said, the time ticks, years go by with many people, and they have the wishes, oh, I wish I'd have done this and wish I'd have done that. The thing is to move your body, get your mind working for you, positive all the time, and don't stop.
I guess the reality is that successful people, or people that we consider to be successful, fail more often than the average person does anyway.
Yes, indeed, yeah, because, you know, things, climate and everything, you know, we have, it's like any company, isn't it? They have a process, they have schedules, they have a target to meet. And when you're working for yourself or you're trying to build something, you have to turn your life to a degree into a business. Now, business don't always just go from the bottom up to the top. There's always the fluctuations. There's always the changes that have to take place. And one of the biggest things that we always have to be is, yes, you have to be one-pointed in your view, you know, look at the target and go for it. But you also have to be very, very flexible in your approach to change what is needed to change. If you sit still and just keep going the same way and you don't change, like anything, it dies. You have to keep moving, keep changing, keep flexible.
If you could have one superpower, Les, what would you have?
I think one of the things that I would really love to do is to remove the fear and skepticism of new innovations, new processes, and new things for us to do. Because again, if we remove that from people's consciousness, then we as a human beings would develop and move so fast. It would take out a lot of insecurities, selfishness. You know, if you just look at it and take it as this, you know, there's enough things in the world for us to share. There's enough riches for everyone to share as well. And so if people took out that one thing of skepticism and selfishness because of the fears and inner beliefs, the whole world would change so rapidly. So if I had that superpower, would be take out the fears and skepticisms out of people's minds so that everyone could have a really good life.
I've got to say, Les, I think you've made history, because I've asked that question to CEOs, managing directors all over the world. And I think this is probably the first time anybody has ever said, I would like to have the power to remove fear and skepticism from people's minds.
Oh, good. Yeah. Well, if you think about it, I remember a great master once said a very long time ago that we have enough entrepreneurs and famous people. What we need more is helpers. Because if we balance the helpers with that, then life would be so much better for all of us. There wouldn't be any separation. That would be the great thing. That's one of the things I've really learned through our lives, is that, you know, separation is only mainly based on fear. It's driven by fear. And if we remove that fear, then there is no separation, you know, through religion or creed or colour, whatever it may be. We're all as one trying to move forward. And that would be the greatest thing for me to do, or anyone to do, not just myself, but, you know, it's a collective, isn't it, really? That's how I feel.
Very wise words. Let's move into the present. I have a feeling that I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Les, what motivates you? What keeps you focused and pushing forward?
The biggest thing that moves me forward, as I say, is helping people to have a good life, to change. And one of the things that, you know, I've studied so much about life and about the mind and how we work and how people operate. And, you know, back to what I was saying earlier, but it really would, you know, for me, that keeps me motivated is helping people to see the changes in their life for them to stop suffering and enjoy themselves. That's what we're here for. We're here for a very, very short period of time if we really think about it. And, you know, when you're in your 20s, you know, you're going to live forever and you can take on the world. But when you're 30, 40, you know, and off it goes, you start to think, oh, blimey, well, life's going fast. life's going past pretty quick. And that's why then people in the 30s, late 30s, 40s on, start to really look that there must be more to this life. So one of my biggest drivers is to get people to understand, to see the why, which we were talking about earlier, about the why of what people should do, do something that they like, their passion, drive their goals, make things change and happen in their life. That's the biggest thing.
I'm wondering whether the Les of the past would have responded to this type of message, because being the person you were, when you were 20 years old, would you have listened to somebody who said to you, listen, don't chase the money, chase the dream, chase your passion? Would you have agreed to that?
Not as much, I must admit, because that's why I say a lot of people in their teens and 20s become a little bit blind. We're busy experimenting. That's why parents have a lot of trouble with their teenage children, because they still try to say, look, I've already been there. I know what it's like. Don't do this or don't do that. Well, that doesn't make much difference. Life is only, a lot of the time, knowledge is only gained by experience. And that's why early teenagers and 20s, everything is experimental. But there is some wise people, pranic healing wise, and the inner teachings that we teach, not only the healing side, but other things that we teach. I've had a lot of young people now coming on board, and that's how I'm trying to also get people to understand that this isn't just about healing. It's about a lifestyle. It's about knowing the inner truths to your life. What is the purpose of your life? What can give you the passion for your life? So there's not just the healing side. There's all the inner teachings of religion. There's ways to build your financial stability, and growth. So there's teachings within that. There's a technique called Arhatic yoga, which isn't the normal yogas that you use in the gyms and so on. This is to do with the development of your mind. So it employs the 7 yogas of the world. Yoga, if you like, is known as union. So also you have to get past your mind, or the ability for your mind to control. So the more and more people that have learned this, obviously they're telling their friends, their families, and we are getting people of the younger generations, which is fantastic, to learn this earlier on, so they don't make all those big mistakes. They don't have all the problems. They learn early and become wiser quicker.
Staying with the idea of influencing and helping the younger generation, let's move into the future. Let's go 10 years into the future. What does the future look like for you? What will you be doing?
One of the biggest things I would really love to do in the future, and one of the visions I have, is to create a school of this teaching, not only what we do on one side, but all of the school of teaching, educate people at an early age to understand their lives, the purposes of their lives, and to create help all the way around the world. This is already in 126 countries around the world, so it's growing very fast. And my biggest vision is to really employ a school of teaching, get this into the educational system, get it into the also to the welfare system, the school, hospitals and everywhere, so everyone can learn this, to make it happen. And the vision of my teacher is to get it in every household. And so if it becomes mainstream, which it will do when everyone becomes more relaxed and not so skeptical, then, as I say, people will be helped all the way around the countries that we serve in and help, and people can have a better life. And that's really, truly is my goal. And
that has got to be one of the most worthwhile goals we've ever had on the show. I've just been handed a note saying that we've run out of time, as always. This conversation, we could talk for hours and hours and hours. Les, just before we say goodbye, is there anybody out there listening to this interview, this conversation, that you'd like to say hello to? Is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
There's so many people, but I'd just really like to say thank you, really, to all my students, colleagues, all the pranic healers, all the volunteers, everyone that's helping this whole process to help to move this, these techniques and share the teachings around not only this country, around the world. That's what I'd like to dedicate it to.
And you just have. Thank you very much. Les Flitcroft, it's been an amazing pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for sharing your time, your knowledge and your wisdom on Kizzy's Friday Game Changers.
Thank you very much for welcoming me on the show. Thank you.
Well, the time I've spent with Les Flitcroft reminds me of a popular saying among doctors. Now, a good doctor will tell you there's no such thing as alternative medicine. If it works, it's just called medicine. And the truth is, healing yourself is connected with healing others. This is a lesson that game changers like Les Flitcroft are teaching us every day. Listen, learn, and innovate. Playing us out is Jen Jevons, the founder of Brisbane-based digital agency Pixel Palace and the former writer, producer, and performer of Australia's most played radio pop song in 2001. Have a listen. See you next week.
Love this game-changing interview? Share your thoughts by posting a comment. Sharing is caring.
If you don't look at me, do I disappear? And though you say these days are things that I don't want to hear, I don't think that you remember. I don't think that you remember. It's always you and me against the world. Should I introduce myself? I'm pleased to meet you. You don't seem to recognize me. You look just like someone I used to know. Pleased to meet you. I'm pleased to meet you. You think you used to love me, but now it seems like that was a whole lifetime ago. So I guess I'll see you around sometime, and one day you might think we've met before. You turn to me and say, I'm pleased to meet you.
Hi, I'm Ludwina Dordovic, the founder and CEO of the Room Exchange, and you're listening to Kizzy's Friday Game Changers. Listen, learn, and innovate.
Pleased to